heart on fire with the zeal of God. Oh, let your light blaze through. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power over the mountains. I send my power over the sea. I send my power into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns to me. And it returns to me. Yes, that love, that joy, that power always returns to us. It returns to us as harmonies. It returns to us as laughter. It returns to us as that divine presence within relationships. It returns to us as the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. And right now, I just bless the sound and bless the music and bless the talk that's coming before us, Rev Dawn, about prosperity. What we give out, we receive in return. And so it is. We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And now we begin the ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths come for the one universal presence, which we call Spirit. Please join me in welcoming our candle lighter this morning, Judy. And so let us begin.
Yeah, right.
The Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, that's us, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The last candle is the healing candle of love. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of anyone you wish to be included in this healing flame of love and light. Now that our flames of faith are fully lit, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Please join me in our purpose, mission, vision, and mission. Our purpose, our reason for being. We awaken and inspire love and oneness. Our vision, what do we want to create? What do we want to become? We are an empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. And our mission, how are we going to go about doing this? We teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Today, our sacred reading comes from, it's a place that comes from Elevate Yoga. And she quotes, according to Deepak Chopra, the universe operates through dynamic exchange. Nothing is static. Your body, your mind, and your energy are in constant exchange with the universe, the cosmos, and cosmic energy. We see this law in nature. The ocean gives water to the air. The air receives the water and forms clouds. And the clouds give the water back to the ocean in the form of rain. We see it in our bodies. We take in food, water, and oxygen, and then there is an output of energy, movement of breath. We also see it in our material world. There is a constant circulation of energy through money, goods, and services. Finally, we see the same flow in our human interactions. What we put out into the world in the form of our thoughts, our words, and our actions, we will ultimately receive back. It might not be right away, it might not be obvious, but eventually, whatever energy we are sending out into the world finds its way back to us. In the book, Conversations with God, God recommends that we give away that which we would like to have more of. Giving away what we don't have enough of might sound difficult, but this act of giving always creates a sense of abundance and opens an energetic pathway for abundance to flow back in. If we are lacking in love, give love. If you're lacking in money, give money. If we are lacking in friendship, be a good friend. If we are lacking support, show support to another. And if we are lacking forgiveness, forgive others and ourselves. Giving time, money, energy, and love to those in need will keep these things circulating in our lives. If we hoard our time, money, energy, and love, we may block the universal circulation and our lives become only what we can get. Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." Giving from our hearts enriches our lives and the lives of everyone around us. And so it is.
Spirit's journey, sailing on the ocean, ocean of oneness, ocean of love. Spirit's journey, learning what we're here for. Here we are together, together in love. Spirit's unity, teaching each other, reaching a hand out, touching a friend. We are unity, growing in wisdom, sharing our vision, growing in love.
Hello, I'm Karen Valera Sherman, and I am one of the licensed practitioners here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. And we have many other people who are here also as licensed practitioners, and I'm going to tell you who they are and ask them to stand, because these are the very people that you can ask for a 1-minute miracle as soon as we are done with our service. And that would be Linda, Rev Dawn, Anne, Camille, and Judy, and Bob, and myself. So please take us up on this 1-minute miracle. We would love to pray with you if you are here in the sanctuary. And if you are not, there are people that are online that are licensed practitioners. And if you just reach out and say that you would like a prayer, there is someone who will meet with you right after the service to give you that 1-minute miracle. Please, just prayer is what we do best, and we are ready and willing to give, because what I just said in the message, right? The more prayer that we give, the more prayer that comes back to us. And so that's our way of circulating and giving abundance through prayer. And there are many ways that you can receive prayer. If the 1-minute miracle does not work for you, please, you can call here at the center. Rev Don, if he is not here, will receive your message and reach out to one of us, or he will reach back to you, and you can receive a prayer that way. Also, if you are here, you can fill out a prayer request, put it into the box over here as you came in, and we will know the truth for you all week, because I will be picking up those prayers and sending them out to my colleagues. So there are many ways to receive prayer, and prayer can help you. It helps me. I reach out to the fellow practitioners, because when I cannot know the truth for myself, I know that there are people who know the truth for me. And so I invite you to regularly seek that prayer, because it can change your life. It will help you change your thinking. We have some ways that you can say yes, and one of them is we are partnering with LDS through Interfaith Council to gather food for others to celebrate Thanksgiving. There is a table, if you are here, in the back that gives examples. And if you are online, I'm going to tell you some of the things that we're looking for. We're looking for canned corn, canned green beans, canned cranberry sauce, or a 6-ounce box of stuffing. More details will follow next week. So, there's a class that I've heard about that's coming our way, that's starting on Tuesday. That is 2 days away. And this might help explain some of why Judy is dressed like this. So, Judy, I hear that the class starts on Tuesday.
That is correct.
Okay. And it's Tuesday at 6:30 to 8:30 through Zoom?
That is also correct.
Plug for me. I'm getting things right. Okay, but the class says that it's based on the 4 spiritual principles of prosperity.
Yes.
And you're wearing love. Like, prosperity usually has to do with money. And I see you throwing a lot of money around, but I don't see you wearing money, Judy.
I am going for love. The last time I went for money. But this time I'm going for love. And I want to be wrapped in love. But anybody who comes and signs up can be wrapped in whatever they want. Obviously,
So,
I have so much money that I can spare it and share it.
that is awesome. So I'm thinking the last time you took the class, you prayed about money. This time, Judy's praying for love. And it'll be interesting to see what you would like to pray for. However, in order to do that, you need to sign up.
We want everybody to sign up and, I want you all to feel love.
So you can sign up in the back. You can talk to Judy. You can talk to Linda Steiner. You can call here at the center. But you need to sign up.
They
Okay.
can also email the center.
Yes, at office@cslalaska.org.
Correct.
And then the Zoom link will be sent to you. Oh, one more thing. How do they pay?
Oh, how they pay? Well, That's an interesting question. But I think that we could use the online tool. That's
And
one.
is there a certain payment?
Well, the pay is a love offering, whatever they want to do. But there are ways that they can go about doing it.
Wonderful. Okay, sign up for the class. The class is called The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, and that is also the book that you're going to be using, right, Linda? Okay,
That is correct.
thank you, Judy.
That is very correct.
There's a lot of prosperity and circulation going on around here today, which totally goes right into the talk that Rev Don will be giving us afterwards. And I am so grateful for that talk because he always gives us these wonderful tidbits and wonderful nuggets of information. So more to come after special music.
I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. Everyone, I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I have been blessed with the universe, teeming with abundance. Oh, thank you, Earth. I stand in the midst of this abundance, using some and spreading all the rest, just like Judy. I feel rich, everyone. I feel strong. I feel confident. I feel rich. I feel strong. I feel confident. I feel rich. I feel strong. I feel confident. I feel rich. I feel strong. I feel confident. Every morning I wake up so energized. Every night I go to bed so satisfied. Every single day my physical self shines forth with my joy for life. Hey, everybody! I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I know what to say and how to say it. I know what to do and how to do it. I am an active helper in my world, saying what I feel and spreading love. Everybody, I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. I feel rich, I feel strong, I feel confident. And that song was by Zoe. Zoe!
Thank you, ladies. That was beautiful. Thank you very much, Aaron, for pulling all this together every week. Thank you, ladies. And a special thanks to Zoe. She'll be stuck in my head all week as I hum that. She always seems to do that. Well, welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you all very much for coming out here today. It's good to see everyone. And thank you for those of you who are watching online. Thank you for inviting us into your home. It is indeed an honor. Today's talk is the third in a 5-part series. Today we're going to look at the law of circulation. We started off this series called Prosperity and Abundance. The first week was the prosperous life. And we talked about the difference between abundance and prosperity. And we looked at how we live in an abundant universe. There is so much for us in this universe, and how does that transfer into prosperity? And I told a story of a very rich man that took his son out into the rural areas to spend a week on a farm to see how the poor people lived. And at the end of the week, he asked his son if he had learned anything, and the son said, "Oh, yes, learned so much." And he said, "Did you learn anything about being poor?" And the son said, "Oh, yes." And as he talked, that revealed that the son felt that their family was poor, that he had a different set of values, a different set of things by which to measure prosperity and abundance. Powerful story. Then in week 2, we looked at the law of attraction and how we attract conditions in our lives. And I had spent most of the week looking around for a specific Ernest Holmes quote. I knew it was there somewhere, and I did not find it. So what you ended up was sort of a Reverend Don homespun version, whatever it was, I don't know. But getting ready for this week, I found the quote. And I know why I didn't find it. I was looking in the wrong place. And the reason I was looking in the wrong place is because it was out of the New Thought Dictionary, which he published in 1942, under the definition of reciprocal action. I was looking for prosperity and abundance. He talks about the law of attraction. This is what he says about reciprocal action. By this principle, man draws into his experience those conditions and experiences which are in direct correspondence to that which his thought is attuned. It is a part of the law of correspondences and is illustrated by the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, and vice versa. Thus, if his thought is negative or destructive, he finds himself ill or suffering lack. If his thought is centered in a contemplation of fullness, abundance, and the joyous life, his experience will be in like nature. That really, to me, defines the law of attraction. This week we're going to look at the law of circulation. There was a quote in this month's Science of Mind magazine. Emily Govreau, Reverend Emily, is a longtime minister at Coral something in Florida. I've met him a couple times at conventions over the years. Really an amazing guy. And in this month's magazine, he wrote, "I am a big fan of the law of attraction. However, attraction can only work if we are practicing circulation. We have to be more than just attractive for the universe to flow in and through us. The fundamental shift that must occur is in the movement of energy in our lives, that is, giving and receiving." So my 3 points today, I'm going to look at what is the law of circulation. Number 2, what can constrict, what can stop the circulation. And third, I'm going to talk a little bit about some symbols. So first of all, what is the law of circulation? And the sacred reading was perfect today. In fact, could practically just get up and read the sacred reading again and forget the sermon. Absolutely nailed it. Everything in the universe circulates. That is essentially the law of circulation. Everything circulates. And think of the clouds. The clouds come over the land, they condense, and we have rain. And the rain falls on the fields, and it falls on the rocks, and it forms little rivulets that come together to form little tiny streams and bigger streams. And the streams come together to form rivers. And the rivers come together to form mighty rivers that flow into the ocean. They flow into the ocean where the sun beats down on the ocean, and the water is condensed back up into the sky as clouds. And it circulates again and again and again. Breath, our very breath. We inhale and we absorb oxygen. We exhale and we release carbon dioxide. Meanwhile, our plants inhale that carbon dioxide, utilize it, and they put out oxygen. And that's a real warning for us because we call it the lungs of the earth, but the Amazon rainforest emits millions of tons of oxygen every year, which we need to live, and we are burning down the Amazon rainforest. We better think that one through. But the planets, we have all of our 9, I guess that are going to try and come up with 10 planets that are circulating around our sun. Our sun circulates around within our galaxy, the Milky Way, and our galaxies circulate around the entire cosmos. And the entire universe is constantly expanding and growing. Everything circulates. It was great in that sacred reading when, and you said it was something yoga. Evolved yoga. Then drove it down even to human behavior and how the things that we do, and she talked about money and goods and services and how they revolve around and circulate as well. In Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes tells a story of a man who was lonely. And so following the teachings of what we do here at this center and centers like us throughout the United States, the man wrote an affirmation, and he really embraced his affirmation. And this is what he wrote: "Wherever I go, I shall be met by love and friendship. I shall be received with joy, and I shall be appreciated." Great affirmation, and I'm sure just on the basis of that affirmation alone, he started to attract those things in his life that he wanted. Friendship and love and companionship, connection with other human beings. But I think that it's important to note that at some point we realize that this law of circulation, these things that we teach, we're not here to change somebody else's behavior. We're not here to do something to force them to like us or anything else. That isn't the score at all. That isn't what we're all about. What this law is about is when we step into this, we don't change them, we change us. And I've told a story before about Susan and going down the store at the grocery aisles, and I never met so many friendly people in a grocery store in my life. It's because she would walk up and down the aisles and smile. She made everybody smile. And we put out that, then that thing circulates back unto us. Later on in the same chapter in Living the Science of Mind, Holmes goes on and he talks about the man who was attracting friendship. He has set up a center within himself that automatically radiates to every circumference in his experience. And because everything moves in circles, it will return to him. So as he changes, as he becomes more friendly, he attracts more friends. As he becomes more loving, he attracts more love into his life. So what can stop this law of circulation? What can constrict it? Spirit, which is the creative life principle, is forever flowing through us. But man has been given the power or the right to impede or stop its progress in himself. We know that we can tie a cord tightly around our arm so that inhibit the circulation of blood, that congestion, stagnation, and infection will follow. In a like manner, through our thinking process, our ideas and our convictions, we use the tourniquets of negative thoughts and block the flow of creative life through us. The tourniquets of thought. It's powerful. So how does this look? What does this mean in how we behave and what we do, how we do things in the world? First of all, one of the things that we do is by not receiving. And I have struggled my whole life with receiving. I'm a great giver, not so good receiver. I work on it. I'm getting better. So many times we constrict that flow by telling ourselves, oh, I'm too old. I can't do that. By saying, oh, I'm too short. I don't have the right education for that job. Oh, I can't possibly do that. Oh, I've got a checkered past. I've got something behind me. I can never do that. When we can let go of that and allow that to flow through us, we can overcome any obstacles. Another way that we restrict it is by not giving joyously. Not giving joyously. The example that I've used before and I always default to is one of my real heroes, Reverend Nancy. And Reverend Nancy used to pay her bills every month, and she would write out her check, and she would bless that check as she sent it. When she wrote out her check to N-Star for the natural gas, she would give profound thanks to have a warm house to live in. The coldest Alaskan winter, and she was warm because of this company. And she was so grateful to be able to write that check. When she wrote her check to Chugach, she was so grateful that she had electric lights. She didn't have to have candles. When she wrote out her check to pay for a credit card bill for her gas, she was so grateful that she had a car and she had gasoline in it so she didn't have to walk. Every single bill she paid, she imbued with love and gratitude. She was always giving and circulating joyously. And when it comes to giving at our center, I never want anyone to give us a dime out of a sense of obligation. Oh, I have to give. That isn't what we teach. It isn't what we believe. Now, this happens to be the week when the PFDs came out, and I think there are a lot of people got an extra bump of, what was it, $1,114? Exactly what it was, Mrs. Fleming keeps trying that. And I will tell you, I am open to receiving. The Alaska Center for Spiritual Living is open to receive any $111.40 donations that happen to be out there. We are ready to accept those. In fact, you can go online right now and make that contribution. I never miss a chance to ask for money. And do it joyously. I think we can also take a lesson from our Buddhist friends. And with all respect to the Buddhists, I ask your forgiveness for condensing this. But I want to make a point, and I'm probably messing the whole thing up. But some of the principles of Buddhism, one of the things that they teach is that there is suffering in life. Now that word suffering, as it translates, doesn't necessarily fit perfectly. It can also mean discomfort, stress, or anxiety. But the most common translation of the word is suffering. And I don't think any of us really argue that there is suffering in life. And where this suffering often comes from, according to our Buddhist friends, is from attachment. It can be from attachment to physical things. What did we have in that first week you talked about in the quotation? I love it. He talked about houses and cars and baubles of all kinds. And we can become attached to houses and cars and baubles of all kinds. And when we don't have the houses and cars and baubles, we think that we come up short. And that isn't it at all. It's just like the young boy in the opening story of the first week when he looked out and he said, yes, we have imported lanterns all over our pond. But they have the stars. It's what we value. The mental Things that we can become attached to can be power or influence or fame or beauty. We can be so attached to our own physical beauty that we miss the point of what true beauty really is. We can become so attached to power that we will do anything to try to keep and maintain that power. We can become so attached to fame. I've used the example before of the NFL player who had to be the highest paid player at his position. And when somebody came along and was paid more, he was distraught. He was already making enough money he couldn't possibly spend it in his own lifetime. And yet he had to have more because he was so attached to money. And that is the suffering that the Buddhists are talking about. Last thing I'll talk about is symbols. All currency, checks and notes are a promise to pay and are a symbol of that promise. In fact, it says right on a dollar bill, I didn't look, I hope this is right, but it says, "This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private." It's a symbol of a promise to pay. Well, these symbols can exist in a lot of different ways. These symbols, you can take a dollar bill. We had it in Toastmasters. The guy did an entire speech on the dollar bill and all the hidden symbols on it. You got the pyramid with the separation and the eyeball, and they're all symbols. Well, these symbols can transcend all of that. We have symbols right here today on the floor. Judy was throwing symbols of money all around. We were demonstrating that symbol. But symbols don't necessarily have to represent only money. And prosperity and abundance and circulation doesn't have to only mean dollars and cents. There is a great story, a lady by the name of Lori Kennedy in Chico, California, told this amazing story. She had been walking down the street, head down, deeply contemplating her situation. For you see, a few days earlier, she and her husband had to leave their home. In the middle of the night, they received a phone call and it said, "Wildfire, wildfire, you must evacuate immediately." And they lost their home and almost all of their possessions in the California Camp Fire. She was distraught, and she was walking down the street. She was looking down that night. After the alarm, they jumped up. She quickly grabbed some of the family portraits that were on their wall. He quickly grabbed their 4 cats and got them into containers and got them in the back of the car. She grabbed a couple of changes of clothes, and they sped out and joined their neighbors in a giant exodus from their community. And they drove for over 2 hours. They finally pulled over and slept in the back seat of their Subaru in a Walmart parking lot. They got up the next morning and had to drive another 3.5 hours to find a hotel that had room for them. And she was grateful that she was alive, but she was also distraught at the loss of what was happening. And then she saw the news, and she saw her neighborhood, even right down her street, and nothing was left. Everything was burned to the ground. And as she walked with her head down, something shiny and bright caught her attention, and she looked down, and there were 2 shiny silver nickels. And she picked up those nickels, and somehow it made her feel better. Even though it was only 10 cents, it made her feel better. And she got home and back to the hotel they were living in, and She got a paper coffee cup and she threw her nickels in there and was grateful for them. And a couple of days later, she was in the store. They were thinking about the things that they'd need to get and what they would do to get back to their home to see if they could sift through and find any remnants of anything that they could salvage. And so she was in this hardware store looking for stuff, and she happened to look up on a shelf, and there was a nickel. And she reached up and got this nickel. And she added it to the one she already had. And then one day she was in the grocery store and she just was overwhelmed with living in a hotel. She didn't have anything to cook. It was so stressful for her, and she was ready to just throw down and walk out. And she got this strong urge to look to her right. And she turned and looked to her right, and there were 2 nickels on the shelf. And these nickels started to appear in her lives. Every time she started feeling down, nickels had come. She went out to dinner. Happened to be Thanksgiving. And she was so sad at not being able to have her usual Thanksgiving dinner at her beautiful house. Her and her husband had lived there for 28 years. It was a fixer-upper, and they'd been fixing it up for 28 years. And she was filled with that sadness, and she looked down in the corner right next to her plate was a nickel. One day she stopped at the convenience store to get something to eat, and the convenience store lady says, "Oh, I'm so terribly sorry, but I don't have any change. You're going to have to get your change in nickels." And each time she'd add the nickels to her little drawer. Well, her luck started to improve, but every time she started feeling down, a nickel would show up. She got a call from the realtor, and they had looked at so many houses, and every time they were already gone. Something had happened. Somebody beat him to it. Somebody offered more money. They never were able to find a place. The realtor said, "This one might work. It's in the area that you asked for. It's within your price range. And there are a couple things that I know you really like and value. There are some old growth trees on the property. It's over an acre. There's a slight stream that runs through it. It sounded beautiful." She said, "The problem is it's kind of a fixer-upper." They drove to it, and she looked at it, and it was everything that the realtor had described. It was great. It did need some work, starting with a coat of paint, but she thought it had a lot of potential. And then she started second-guessing herself, and she said, "I don't know, is this really what we're meant to do? Or am I just so anxious to get out of this hotel and get into something different?" And she didn't know what to do, but she didn't have to contemplate that question long, because she looked down, and in the driveway, 2 shiny nickels, both heads up. These nickels were a symbol of hope. And that hope can circulate. When we give out, and when we can trust and we can have faith, that hope can carry us. So yeah, the nickels are currency. Yeah, it's money. But they're a symbol for hope. What I would like you to take away today, this is also from Ernest Holmes, Creative Living, 1972. If we want to be free from suffering, we must stop inflicting it. If we want love, we have to love, no matter what anybody thinks of us. If we no longer want to be condemned, we must no longer condemn somebody else. Without harm, without hurt, we may liberate ourselves and help to liberate others. Lifting ourselves by the power of our creative imagination to the consciousness of the impotence of good and the omnipresence of living spirit. again, lifting ourselves by the power of our creative imagination to the consciousness of the omnipotence of good and the omnipresence of living spirit. And so with that in mind, I invite my colleagues, the licensed practitioners, and really everyone, because we're all practitioners, but I invite you to join me in holding our congregation, our city, our state, our nation, our world in love and light, and recognizing the all-powerful nature of good and the everywhere presence of living spirit. That everywhere presence in each and every person we meet, whether we like them or not, whether we agree with them or not, we can see beyond any of the appearances and know that they are a beloved child of the Most High, that they are a product of that infinite creative force of the universe. And so we just hold them in that perfect love, the love of God. And we know that any condition that we experience, lack and limitation, is only an appearance, that the truth is that we live in an abundant universe. Those stars are up there, whether it's cloudy or not. And they are more beautiful and more powerful than the most expensive imported lanterns over our pond. We know that as we experience health challenges, we know that there is that within us which is perfect. And it is that which we embrace. And for those of us who are feeling that separation from one another, or separation from God, we just simply know that we can never be separate from God because we are expressions of God. And so we just give thanks. We give thanks for that awareness of the omnipotence of good. We give thanks for our awareness of the omnipresence of the Most High. We give thanks, we let it go, we let it be, and so it is.
Let there be less of me, let there be more of thee, less of the human, more of the divine, less that belongs to me, more that is thine, more of God's nature, and less that is mine. Personality, individuality, more of the Spirit self shining through me. Teach me humility, let me your servant be. Give me serenity, selfless and free. Let there be more of thee, less less of the human, more of the divine. Less of the human, more of the divine.
Well, ladies, thank you. Well, now is a time in our service where we are afforded the opportunity to participate in another one of our spiritual practices, that being the law of circulation. Give you an opportunity to circulate all that. But while we're doing that, I hope that for those of you who are at home, I think we can get the link on in the chat room, maybe? Okay. Well, that was what we're going to do. But another thing that we're going to do, and I think I have a picture, I'm not too sure. This is a true story of giving, deep, deep giving. When you know, you know. Reed Alexander knew from his first date with Rafael Diaz that he had met his potential soulmate. The pair hit it off upon matching on Tinder in August of 2020 and got married the following April. On their wedding day, though, Reed received a call that he'd waited for since he was a teenager. There was a kidney available for him. And he had a genetic condition called Alport Syndrome that can damage the blood vessels in the kidneys, but he'd have to get to Indiana very, very quickly. And he couldn't make it there in enough time. But his husband looked over, soon-to-be husband, and said, I've never been tested if you're a match. If we're a match, I'll give you mine. He was a match, and we have a picture of them after he donated his kidney. The married couple are now healthy and recovering after their transplant operation. Reed said that receiving Raphael's kidney has drastically improved his health. He can now hike and eat mac and cheese. Nearly 107,000 people nationwide need a life-saving organ transplant, Reed told CNN. I was so lucky I got mine from the love of my life. But what a powerful story of giving and receiving. And we have our very own kidney donor with us right here in Judy Wolf, who gave of her kidney. That is real giving.
9 years ago.
9 years ago. Okay, with that, I think we can get right on. It's getting late. Oh my goodness, we're way behind.
Oh my goodness.
Too late.
We're right on time.
Right on time.
Join me in our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
And
So it is. Loda, Cora, and Jonah.
Thank you.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
just for the affirmation. So as we close today, being so grateful that we are so blessed, with those reminders to keep open at receiving and giving so ever joyously, thus opening an energetic pathway for abundance to continually flow. A reminder to look for the symbols, the nickels in our lives. And we are lifted by the power of our own mind. What is it that you would like more of? And actually, I'm going to use this as the affirmation. So repeat after me. We make a life.
We make a life
By what we give.
by what we give,
And we allow ourselves to receive.
and we allow ourselves to receive.
Because it enriches our hearts.
Because it enriches our hearts
And brings more abundance.
and brings more abundance.
And so it is.
And so it is. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy springs from my soul to you. Catch on fire with the zeal of God, oh let your light blaze through. Let your image reflect the truth that you are God's own child. Shout about the light within, holy, pure, and undefiled. Spirit is joy, oh holy joy springs from my soul to you. Catch on fire with the zeal of God, oh let your light blaze through.